While in Detroit for a job interview, Tess, a young woman, arrives to her Airbnb to find that it mysteriously already has a tenant. Trying to make the best of the situation, the two tenants decide to share the house for the night. They soon learn, however, that not all residents leave when their stay is up. This is Barbarian. Barbarian. Sometimes my references are just for me, and that was one of the instances. Barbarian is a new horror film directed by comedian Zach Cregger. I swear, between him, John Krasinski, Jordan Peele, what is it with comedy guys being really good at directing horror? Because Barbarian is quite possibly the most intense horror film I have seen in a long time. And the main reason why it is the most intense thing on the planet is because you will not have a clue as to where this film is going. The trailers may not show a lot of this movie, but that's quite frankly a good thing. The film's cast, although quite small, is great. Georgina Campbell plays a great lead in this film. She's funny and charming and just a really investing presence to watch on screen. Bill Skarsgård is also great in this film. Pennywise, this character definitely isn't, but honestly, that's for the better. He just played a really solid character, had some really good chemistry with Georgina Campbell, even if the character's name was Keith.
Keith, you know? Oh, watch out for Keith.
Again, some of these references are just for me. Another great standout of the film was Justin Long, whose storyline is just as crazy, but goes insanely well with this film for some reason. He also delivered some good comedic moments to the film too. Now, I'll come out and fully admit this. The first horror film I ever saw in theaters was It in 2017. A whole 5 years ago, actually. I was quite the chicken for the longest time when it came to horror films, and still am in some regards, especially in this one, because I will be damned if this film did not have me shaking in anxiety for no reason other than the fact that this film is insanely unpredictable. Every bit of scares and horror in this film just stems from the fact that I had no clue where this film could go from here, and it delivers on that and makes for an extremely anxiety-inducing film. And I kind of loved it. Now, I've never been in a haunted house during the Halloween season, and probably never will, but I can almost imagine this is what it would feel like. This movie just feels like you're walking through a haunted house, being anxious in every turn and every black void you can just see from the distance. It is insane. And no, I don't mean that in the it's just a roller coaster so it doesn't have any value kind of mindset. I don't subscribe to that. Art is made to invoke an emotion, and this invoked the emotion of anxiety, and it did a tremendous job at that. Something that really surprised me with this film was that it takes minimalism storytelling, all the while doing multiple stories throughout it. Let me explain. If you remember in my review for Bullet Train, I mentioned how the film tackles a bunch of different stories, all condensed onto the train. This film does something similar, maybe not as to the extent of Bullet Train, but there are definitely a handful of stories going on at once in this film. But at the same time, these stories just commit to their weirdness so well that you just go along with it and you just kind of figure out the pieces as you go on and be like, okay, I get it now. This is what's happening. Making what is a solid film with a solid story and solid characters and solid conflict. And it didn't even need a same-year prequel. And I was just really surprised with how that was done, and I liked it quite a lot. I do feel the ending was a bit rushed. There were some characters and character arcs that just weren't fleshed out as much as I would have liked to have seen them been. But really, other than that, like, I can almost look past it just for the fact that I was having such just a good time watching this horror movie and having fun being so scared. I don't think a horror film has affected me so much in anxiety levels since, like, maybe A Quiet Place. A Quiet Place is one of my personal favorites in terms of that, and A Quiet Place 2. These films are like anxiety up to 11 for me. All this wrapped up in just an insanely weird movie. There are some scenes in this movie that may remind you are owned by Disney. Since this is technically a 20th Century Studios movie, this is a Disney-owned movie. And that in some territories, this will be on Disney+. Probably before even Dave the Barbarian is. Wild, I tell you. Wild. But yeah, this was a solid horror film that I can strongly recommend for the Halloween season. Thank you so much for watching this review. And if you enjoyed it, please consider hitting that like button. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to be notified when my next review drops. That would really mean a lot. Until next time, I'm Quint Dunaway, hoping you will keep it cinematic.